Shalom. I wanted to do this video because I just watched this video on FAI Studios called the pre or why the Post-Tribulation Rapture with Pastor Joe Schimmel. And I had to slow it down because I could not understand him too well. So I'm doing this for people who wanted to make a little more sense of what was discussed or what he discussed specifically. So I'm going to go through it. Number one, he said that there is no secret coming. 7 years, so talking about Jesus' return, there is no secret second coming 7 years before the second coming of Jesus. Like there's no 2 second comings, essentially. So the church will not be unprepared, meaning they will be prepared for the second coming, is what he's saying. So that's point one. Secondly, pre-wrathers, just like pre-tribbers, believe that there are 2 last trumpets, but in fact there's only one in reality, or scripturally. They also have 2 last days, 2 end of the ages or ends of the ages, and 2 first resurrections. Next, I'm going to try to put the seals in order for the purpose of this video. So let's go with the first seal. So the first trumpet blows after the first seal, okay? Next, I might have to just go through it the way I wrote it, okay? The sixth seal. The sixth seal aligns with Matthew 24. The sixth seal is the end. And the people run, or I should say the problem that people run into is thinking, even me, I run into this problem as well, is thinking the book of Revelation is rigid and chronological. So if we're reading Revelation chapter 1, then 2 is next, 3 is next, 4 is next, so on, in terms of the chronological events. But even Genesis chapters 1 and 2 show us that this is not the way we should be reading scripture. Daniel 2 and chapter 7 as well show the same thing, that there is parallelism in scriptures, not meaning that Daniel 2 is not a different prophecy from Daniel 7. They're describing the same events, the same thing. So he's saying that in the Revelation, we see the same thing happening. And I'm going to have to agree with him. It does make sense, because if we try to reason that it's a sequential order, and it has to be followed that way rigidly and chronologically, meaning whatever is mentioned in Revelation 2 has to happen before whatever is written in 8 and so on, that we can run into a lot of confusion that way. So if we understand it in this way, saying that there's parallelism, it makes more sense, actually. So there is symmetry between the 6th seal, the 7th trumpet, and the 7th bowl. He's not saying that they are the same, but there may be overlap. But he believes that these 3 events are the end. Regarding the 5th seal, the saints are asking God, "How long, Lord, until you avenge our blood?" And then they are given 2 answers. The 6th seal is the short answer, and the 7th trumpet is another answer. Next, the mystery of God, according to him, is that the Jews and Gentiles will be gathered in one body. Okay, personally, I don't believe this. I believe that the mystery of God is Christ in us. Okay, anyway, there's a scripture reference for that. I just don't know it off the top of my head. It's in the New Testament, obviously. At the 36-minute and 40-second mark, 36:40, he says that it calls him, Jesus Christ, he who was and is, but it does not call him as he who is to come. Why? Because he has already come at that point in the narrative. At the 41-minute mark, they talk about, or I should say, he just talks about post-tribbers have a lot of clear scriptures that the end takes place at the end of the book of Revelation. However, pre-wrathers, whether they are right or whether they are wrong, it's not that major. It's not that big of a deal. However, pre-tribbers, on the other hand, are in danger, in grave danger, because if Jesus doesn't come in a pre-tribulation rapture, according to pre-tribbers, their hope is blasted. They also say, pre-tribbers, that God is evil if they have to go through the tribulation. And according to Joel, I believe it's Joel or maybe even Joe, that it is a recipe for apostasy. And I strongly agree with that. At the 42-minute mark, okay, so this was not Joel, it was Joe. So at the 42-minute mark, Joel responds to what he presented. And then Joel offers a very interesting question, and it's this: do the two witnesses die in the first half of the final 7-year period, so in the 3.5-year mark, or do they die at the tail end of the 7-year period? If it's the latter, then they die the same day as the Antichrist. So that's an interesting idea. I haven't really pondered that too much. And the last point I'm going to mention is that Joe says that Jews and Gentiles are called saints. Both Jews and Gentiles are called saints twice in the book of Revelation. Okay, so I hope that gave a little more sense to what was discussed. Being a native English speaker, even I found it difficult to follow along. So I hope that this video is helpful in that regard. Okay, so Shalom, Aleichem, and Maranatha.